What's up with the Callisto Protocol? The game released in December of 2022 by Striking Distance and Krafton. Striking Distance is a new studio by Glenn Schofield, who created the original Dead Space. He had input on Dead Space 2 before leaving the studio to open up Sledgehammer. He had nothing to do with Dead Space 3, which is reassuring, or the recent remake. Krafton is the owner of PUBG and the publisher of Callisto Protocol, which is why it was originally planned to take place in the PUBG universe. And it's still fucking stupid no matter how many times you say it. I think the game should have been delayed, but I'll get back to that a bit later. With Callisto deriving from the minds of Dead Space, the game shares a few similarities, as you'd expect. Let's get started. Callisto is one of Jupiter's moons, where the game takes place. Europa is another one of Jupiter's moons, which is important to the story. You are Jacob Lee, the owner of many oversized jackets. You and your partner Max transport shipments back and forth between Callisto and Europa. A terrorist group called the Outer Way, led by Danny Nakamura, boards your ship, causing it to crash on Callisto. Max dies in the crash along with everyone who boarded with Danny, except for her. Captain Ferris comes from the nearby prison. He enters the ship and arrests Jacob under orders from the warden. Shit goes down at the prison once you become a prisoner. You meet an inmate named Elias and plan your escape as you uncover Black Iron Prison's darkest secrets. The game has a star-studded cast, most notably Josh Duhamel from a whole bunch of things, including some of the Transformers movies, Karen Fukuhara from The Boys, and Sam Witwer, who you might recognize as the lead in Days Gone. Okay, I've mentioned this game a few times in my past videos, usually when speaking about the movement, because I think Jacob is just so heavy and slow. You get used to it, as you do with everything, but I assume it feels that way to make yourself feel stronger. Speaking of strong, the game is melee focused, and it continues that way through its runtime. You start off with a crowbar as you get accustomed to the combat. You later find a stun baton, which becomes your main melee weapon. If you're swinging, it probably means enemies are swinging at you, and this is where we talk about the elephant in the room. A big point of scrutiny is the dodge and block mechanics. It's different than any other game that I've played. You dodge by holding the movement stick, either left or right, and blocking by holding down. Yeah, I told you it was different. It's not bad. It feels even a little good when you get used to the rhythm of the combat, but it's definitely unique. Enemies swinging at you usually only have about a 1 or 2 hit combo. Bosses and later game enemies will have 3 hit combos or higher. So when you're dodging, you can't hit the same directional dodge twice in a row. You gotta do left, right, or right, left. Otherwise you'll get hit and most likely get caught up in an enemy's combo. The negative I have with it being on the stick is that a bunch of times I'm dodging by accident. I guess it's a good problem, but I feel like the game is cheating in my favor. I'm dodging attacks that I don't see coming or I didn't anticipate, and I get away with it. There's a short window where you can do a perfect dodge. It'll slow down time to give you moments to think on your next move. I've only ever done this by accident, really. I feel like it isn't consistent. I played this game the first time right after beating Dark Souls 3, and I just could not nail the timing. Maybe I need to get gooder. Let's talk about the weapons. The guns are 3D printed on a main body, and swapping weapons is swapping the exterior while keeping the frame. The skunk gun, tactical pistol, and hand cannon share the same frame. The riot shotgun and a late game weapon also share the same frame. This is where it gets different again. When you press right on the D-pad, all of your guns are there in a list. You press A to select the gun you want, and then it'll select the frame for you and load the gun onto it. I mentioned that there's 2 frames, right? The game remembers which gun you used on each frame last, and hitting left on the D-pad will cycle you between them. One more thing about the guns and the in-game economy. There's a shop that you can use whenever you come across this terminal. It's mainly for upgrading your guns and equipment. You make your way up the line in a set route for what you make stronger, while some of your equipment may have branching paths. Any upgrades gets 3D printed, which is kinda dope. Upgrades can cost thousands of credits, but when you loot money from enemies, they don't really give you anything. You'll be fighting for your life and you murder a monster, and then you stomp them and you pick up $6. Like, what the hell is $6 gonna do? While at the shop, you're basically told to sell any gadgets that you pick up, like a HP LaserJet ink cartridge, SATA hard drive cables, or a neural impulse actuator, which is actually worth big bucks. You also have 2 inventories. One is for your guns and equipment that you always have on you, and another one is for items that you pick up as you play, like bullets, healing items, or stuff to sell. All the bullets look the same, so chances are you gotta read what you have if you plan to drop some to make room for another type. The game is always giving you ammo, especially if you keep stomping dudes, so you'll always have ammo for one of the guns that you have. Jacob and the other prisoners have a core device on the back of their neck. This is to show you your health points, but in the lore, it helps store your memories, I think, and it's also a method of communication. somehow. Obviously, this is just to get rid of the HUD. Even your inventory is floating in front of you. Another big part of the game, which is also taken from Dead Space, is the stomping. I just talked about it, but stomping enemies you've killed will drop ammo and other goodies. In that same Dead Space vein, you get an ability very similar to Kinesis. It allows you to pick up and throw enemies, mainly into environmental hazards, like spikes and spinning blades or just off a cliff. These hazards were a big part of the marketing, and it's a bummer that they didn't do more with it. The healing mechanic is vastly different from Dead Space though. You will find health gel as a pickup and it goes right into your core to heal you instantly. But you will also find health injectors. These heal you for more, but also take time to do so, meaning you can be interrupted and will probably risk wasting some of it. Before we speak on some of the negatives, please remember to leave the video a like. Do it now, and subscribe too. People don't like subscribing, but it really helps the channel grow a whole bunch. Thanks. More negatives. There are ways that the game will just f***ing troll you, and it happens a whole lot. These things with the long necks will jump out and grab you time to time. It happens quite a lot, and it gets really f***ing annoying. This is my main negative with the game. Something less often but still annoying is these like parasite things. They'll jump out of a crate that you open. It's kind of like the snakes from RE4, but much worse. Another negative. The game introduces a mini boss that is like two giant dudes stapled together, but you gotta fight them like 4 or 5 times, and it's never really fun. It's just dodging, shooting, dodging, shooting. Trying to melee these things will just get you smacked, so the systems with the most complexity isn't even utilized for these fights. They take a couple of minutes and they're just pretty easy fights. I have another negative, but it has nothing to do with the gameplay. Okay, the game ends on a fucking cliffhanger. And then the actual end of the game, Final Transmission, costs extra or is part of their season pass. Okay, we gotta look at the season pass real quick. First off, it's $40 Canadian. So let's take a look at what you get. You get the Outer Way skin pack, Contagion mode, which is like an ultra hard mode looks like. Death animations, okay. Another skin pack. A riot mode, which looks like a horde mode. Enemy death animations. Another skin pack, and you get Final Transmission, which if you want to buy it by itself, it's $19. When I saw that they would release the end of the game as a complete separate download and charge you for it, that bugged the shit out of me, honestly. When they make a sequel, they need to assume that not everyone played the DLC. All that stuff should be bonus. I didn't buy the Season Pass, Deluxe Edition, or the DLC, because that noise. Something to think about is that the DLC came out 6 months after the game's launch. But why wasn't it free? That's what bugs me. Delay your game if it needs it. My assumption is that they wanted to launch before the Dead Space remake because they knew that that game would eat their lunch. And it did. Sorry for the rant. Maybe I should discuss bonus content in my future videos. As we begin to wrap it up, I actually enjoyed the game quite a lot, even if it sounds like I had a lot to pick on. Once you choose the guns that you want to stick with, upgrade them, and do some inventory management, I began to look forward to combat encounters. It's like a rhythm game as you dance between enemies and take them out one by one. That was kind of cheesy, but who the f cares? Okay, should you play the Callisto Protocol? Well, it's the perfect game. If you want to get lost, if you want to see some dope lighting techniques, if you... Wait, that dude just ran away. And if you... Ooga booga 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 jump scare. What's up, everyone? Thanks for watching. This is a weird one because I liked the game, but it seems like most people didn't. It was enjoyable to me. I mean, I didn't like the scummy DLC practice, but I'll practice what I preach and I won't pay for it. If you don't like scummy DLC practices either, then follow my socials. SilverJS on Twitter, or X, whatever the f it's called now, and JS Silver on Instagram and Threads. I'll see you all in the next one. Stay safe.